Whether we're programming in Python or most other programming languages, variables are very important to us. In today's episode, we're going to talk about output variables. For example, I have a program that calculates the area. So I need for input, I need to get the length from you and the width. And then I calculate length times width, and I put out the area. But the way we use that output message, output variable can differ a little bit. There are certain rules that govern how we could display that. We're going to use the most famous print command to kind of demo that. So I hope you guys enjoy this session as we talk about Python's output variables. So to start, print is usually the command used the most for output variables. So we'll just go ahead and use it. And let's go ahead and start by typing x is equal to I love Python. So if I was to print x, and x is a string because it's between double quotes, since it's a string, it's going to print exactly that. It's going to show me I love Python. So let's go ahead and run it. Sure enough, I love Python. Now, let's see what happens if we try and break it into multiple lines. So let's say x is equal to I, y is equal to love, and z is equal to Python. Print y, print z. So now we should have 3 lines, I love Python. Let's go ahead and run it. And sure enough, that's what we have. But now, in real life, I'd like to have them all in the same line, and I want it to be a long statement. So what do I do in this case? If I have strings, is I could put a comma between my strings. Variable. So since each one of those is a string, I could just put a comma after each one. Let's go ahead and run it and see what happens. And it put all of them consecutively. So I, X, love, Y, Z, Python. So I can print each one separately, or I can print them consecutively, as we can see in this case. So now, another way of doing this is by putting the plus sign. However, the plus sign puts a string as is. So if I put X plus Y, this is not a mathematical plus because this is a string. This is not a number. There's double quotes around it, so it's a string. It's not a number. So it's just going to take the string as is. Notice there's no spaces after I or before love or after love. So it's just going to put them with no spaces if this works correctly. So let's look at it. Let's run it. And sure enough, I love Python. There's no spaces. It just took this string, added this one next to it, added this one next to it. So if I needed spaces, I'll put a space after I, a space after love, run it, and I should have my spaces now. I love Python. So the plus sign for strings basically just takes a string as is and concatenates it or puts it right next to the previous one. Now, what if I want to add actual addition? Let's change this to numbers, integers in this case. So let's make this 10. So x is equal to 5, y is equal to 10, print x plus y. Those are longer strings. So it's going to give me 5 plus 10, which is 15. 15, because that's a number, that's a number. What if it was a double quote? Now it's a string. It's no longer a number. So it's just going to put them next to each other. It's going to put 5 followed by 10. Let's confirm that. 5 followed by 10. Because I put it as a string, not as a number. So if the plus has numbers, integers, it's going to add it to the mathematical function. But if it's strings, it's just going to put one string followed by the other in the order that we have in our print command. What if I want to have numbers and a string? So for example, I want to have my age is, and we're going to change this into a number. Say 21. We're going to put a comma in the middle, and let's run it. And sure enough, one string followed by the other, so it says my age is 21. All right, so in this lesson, we kind of talked about the output variables, primarily the print function, which is mostly used. In the first example, we saw how we could use that simply by printing out a string in this case. In the second example, we saw how we could output multiple variables separated by a comma. In our other example, we see how we could use the plus operator to output multiple variables Then we showed how the plus character works as a mathematical operator if we're doing math with it. And then finally, we saw how we can combine the different data types within our print command. Again, all those are examples. If you go to kinseytech.com and look at the Python course for that specific lesson, you'll find the files attached. Best of luck. Enjoy your journey.